श्रीभ्यो नमः। श्री गोसाईजी परमदयालवे नमः। श्री गुरवे नमः। एवमेतत् पुरा पृष्टो मैत्रेयो भगवान् किल क्षत्रावनं प्रविष्टेन त्यक्त्वा स्वगृहमुद्धिमत्। चिन्ता सन्तानहन्तारो यत्पादाम्बुजरेणवः स्वीयानां तान् निजाचार्यान् प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः। यदनुग्रहतो जन्तुः सर्वदुःखातिगो भवेत् तमहं सर्वदा वन्दे श्रीमद्वल्लभनन्दनम्। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमामि हृदये शेषे लीलाक्षीराब्धिशायिनं लक्ष्मीसहस्रलीलाभिः सेव्यमानं कलानिधिं चतुर्भिश्च चतुर्भिश्च चतुर्भुजिश्च त्रिभिस्तथा षड्भिर्विराजते योऽसौ पञ्चधा हृदये मम। श्रीकृष्णं परमानन्दं दशलीलायुतं सदा सर्वभक्तसमुद्धारे विस्फुरन्तं परं नुमः। नमो भगवते तस्मै कृष्णायाद्भुतकर्मणे रूपनाम विभेदेन जगत्क्रीडति यो यतः बुद्धिप्रेरककृष्णस्य पादपद्मं प्रसीदतु। ज्ञानासमर्थजीवानाम् अस्माकं सर्वदा स्वतः नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। श्री गोवर्धननाथ की जय। श्री गिरिराज धरण की जय। બધાને બરાબરની ઊંઘ આવી ગઈ છે. श्याम सुंदर श्री अमने महारानी जी की जय। श्री वल्लभाधीश की जय। श्री गोसाई जी परम दयाल की जय. I'll give you introductions of whose Jai Jaikar you are doing, by the way. Shri Govardhan Nath Ji is on your back side. He's on my back side. He's also on my front side. Shri Giriraj Dharan, again the same personality in a different form. Giriraj Dharan. So far so good. The next is Yamuna Maharani ki jai. Shri Yamuna ji as a river is also treated as a Maharani ji. Is also treated as Shri Thakur ji's fourth Chaturth Priya. Next is Mahaprabhu Shri Vallabhacharya. We have already spoken about him. And if you don't know who is Gosai ji Param Dayal, Mahaprabhu ji's second son. Shri Gosai ji is considered to be Mahaprabhu ji's second son. Now, what is Param Dayal? Param refers to extreme. Dayal refers to compassionate or merciful. And in other scriptures, it has been written that Bhagavan Shri Krishna only incarnated as Gosai ji. So I'm not taking any random names over here and making you speak Jai about. I'm not saying Meri Jai or Apki Jai. I hope it makes sense. Vidur. I promised something yesterday. I'm delivering it today. There are two names mentioned on the screen. Meeting of Udhav and Vidur. Who is Vidur? Kaka. Kona? અમુક કાકા બાપાના પોરિયારે ગોંડલિયું ગેણારું Pandav and Kaurava Kaka. Dhritarashtra's real brother or not so real brother? Definitely not real brother. Definitely not real brother. So who was father of Vidur? बस गूगल कर निकाल ले आओ जो. And do you know who's Udhav? For people who don't have introduction of Udhav, Udhav is Bhagwan Shri Krishna's friend. And Udhav also happens to be the messenger of Bhagwan Shri Krishna, whose Leela we'll be listening probably in a couple of days from now. Now, there was a question that came, when are you going to tell us Shriji ki Katha? Had the topic been Śrīmad ji Charitramrut or had the topic been Śrīmad ji's Pragatya Varta, I would have spoken about Śrīmad ji's Katha. But since this is Bhagavat Katha, and that means I'm responsible to speak the Leela of Bhagavan. And certain Leelas might be overlapping in nature, but for that we'll have to wait for Thakurji to incarnate. And when do you think Thakurji is going to incarnate? Tomorrow. That's why, what's the dress code for tomorrow? Orange. Today you are in a pre-celebration, that's why you are in yellow. I didn't mean it that sense, but fair. My Brahmins are wishing that happens soon. For people who got the joke, good for you. So it was intentionally thought why it will be yellow today, the brighter color today, and intense color of love tomorrow. We could have even gone with red, but in celebrations, whenever Thakurji's Pragatya happens, Kesariya is the rang. Kesari is the rang that people prefer. So when you take kesar, mix it with water, crush it, you see some color coming out, sprinkle it on, not the wall, the cloth, and you'll see some imprints. It's neither red, it's not orange, it's in middle. So that kesari rang is what we'll be wearing tomorrow. Anyway, coming back to today's Skanda 3, which is also known as Sarga Leela, creation. Vidur has been a guiding force for Pandav. Pandav's Katha is something we focused upon in the yesterday's session. We focused in the yesterday's session. In today's day, being Vidur is one of the toughest things to do in the world. We had quite some good discussion in the morning, and probably this discussion will go forward as soon as we talk about Vidur. There were two people in, I won't call the mythology is not the right word, I'll use the word theology. Theology refers to scriptures. Knowledge that comes from scriptures is considered as theology. Mythology means that it's a myth and you may or may not know it's true or not. And we've had far off enough incidences and precedences, premises where we know that this has been true. And there have been enough people going on in a faith with evidences that this has occurred earlier. Vidur knew what is dharma, and hence he knew when to let go. Vidur knew dharma, and hence he knew when to let go. Now, what are the various things that you can let go in life? ego, arguments, hurt, pain, happiness. ક્યાંથી આજે સૂરજ ઉગ્યો છે? Knowledge, let go of that knowledge. क्या बात है. Emotions, less is more. Less is more. Problems, anxiety, હાય વારી જાઉં. શું વાત છે? કાનોડો એક દિવસ વહેલો આવી ગયો છે. સાંભળે છે. I'm glad he's active. Why don't you put your iPad aside and talk to me? I love it. I'm loving the way you're contributing to this Katha right now. You're the center point of attraction right now. Talk to me, I'll enjoy. And I'll acknowledge you as well, don't worry. Comparison, okay? I hope I got that word right. Comparison. Greediness. Attachments. Other people's faults. Are baapre. I wish if it was that easy, but yeah, sure. Then other. What is worthy of let go? You said everything. You never said past. Said everything, but none of you said past. In English, there's a good statement: past is history, future is mystery. Live your present like a gift. But somehow we have been fine-tuned to carry backlog. Sometimes I wonder, should we call ourselves humans or should we call ourselves as donkeys? We might not carry physical weight, but I'm certain we carry a lot of mental weight. How do you cut off from that mental weight? Vidurji is the right example for it. Vidurji witnessed a lot of incidences. See, Kauravs, specifically Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra was the root cause of a lot of problems. The first problem was insulting. Whom? The daughter of the house. Let me not use the word in-law anymore. See, this is the difference between Sanskrit and English. You know what's the term for daughter-in-law in the house in Sanskrit? Sanskrit. Those are all Hindi words. Putra Vadhu. Vadhu. Now, if you translate it in the literal sense, पुत्र से अधिक, पुत्र थी વધારે, પુત્ર થી અધિક. સસરા બનવાના છે એટલે એમને ખબર શું થવાનું છે. Yeah, I mean, to acknowledge you all, he's on a very tight schedule. Yogesh Kaka has his son's wedding. So as soon as he's landing in India, he's rushing to Junagadh. And the right hand is going to be there. The right hand has to be there. So he can now relate to this concept, what is going to happen in his house. So Putra Vadhu. So this is closeness. You bring closer. Putra thi adhik. That means you bring her closer. And what did we do in English? In-law. A straightforward bifurcation. We might believe, no, this is fine, these are just terms, doesn't really matter, casually just take it forward. On one side, we'll talk about girl has to lose her identity. And on the other side, you keep her, disowned at the same time. More than disowned, I'll rather give you a better term. What do you call? Embrace. You don't embrace her. You just treat her like one person externally who's come from our house, from the other house. And insulting Draupadi, Vidur yelled at his own top of the lungs, stating that don't do this. He even advised not for gambling. So multiple such factors had led Dhritarashtra for his downfall. And mind you, a blind person being a king by itself is a problem. People might have compassion, but why is it so that blind people can't be kings? Let them be kings, but for a king to do justice needs to have a vision. And unfortunately, even if the Western throw this concept at us, कानून अंधा होता है. I'm sorry to say this, it doesn't work that way. Gone are those days when there was an akka patti on the lady of justice in the Indian culture and in the Indian judiciary system as well. Vidur knew when to cut it off. The last and the least, like the most horrendous crime that Kauravas could have done was to mistreat a diplomat. If you have heard of United Nations, they have some guidelines for international diplomacy. Till that extent, that diplomats are to be treated with respect. They can't be detained, even if you have them to. If you even if you want them to be gone, there's a process for it. Bhagavan Shri Krishna was a messenger and a diplomat on behalf of Kauravas, coming up with a proposition to the for the Pandavas, coming up with a proposition to the Kauravas, stating that it's advisable that you settle. Though Bhagavan in his true heart never wanted the settlement, but still, as a duty of being a diplomat, as a duty of being a messenger, he ensured that he conveyed the right messages. Would you detain a messenger? Would you detain a messenger? It's not just in Dwapar Yug this has happened, this happened in Treta Yuga as well. Even Hanumanji was tried to be detained. So history has repeated over here. And Vidur has respect for Bhagavan Shri Krishna. He's like, now I cannot tolerate. Now I'm done. I'm done with you. I am done with the kingdom. I'm done with me being a minister. I am going away from the rights and responsibilities. And he happens to go for a Tirtha Yatra. Now, some people might feel this is escape. I'll give you one statement, choose your battles wisely. It's not an escape. He took a decision of not standing with adharma. He took a decision of not standing with those brothers and uncles and relatives who are insulting Bhagavan Shri Krishna. Mind you, this Sanatan wave has been in the last 10 years. This very same audience 20 years ago was dancing on Teri Aankhein Bhool Bhulaiya Baatein Hai Bhool Bhulaiya. And at that point of time when Hare Ram Hare Krishna mantra was being sung, people used to dance a lot in the DJ parties. Now all of a sudden that Hindu in the nature has awakened all of a sudden, no, you cannot be using words like these against our gods and goddesses. Some 25 years ago as well, there was this one song which was on Shri Shivji, where Bam Bam Bole was being used in the wrong sense. At that time, no one was objecting. All of a sudden, Sanatanis have suddenly woken up and they have been aroused, awake and whatnot, and now they're going against this entire trend. You should have done this at that time, not now. हर वस्तुમાં જાગ્યા ત્યારથી સવાર ન હોય. The difference between Vidurji and us is Vidurji knew when to draw a line, Vidurji drew the line. But prior to he left, Vidur was like an emergency button. Dhritarashtra would click on that button and Vidurji had to come for him. What do you do when you are stressed? Singing all the time? अरे सहवाग ना बेंच होता है. What do you do when you are stressed? Meditate, calm down, went out. Went out to whom? Mm-hmm. You do prayer. Whom do you went out to? Parents, sure. Family. What if the complaint is against him? तू ही तेरी complaint झेल. It doesn't work that way. What I have known is generally friends come into the picture in such a case. At least some person who is no party to this transaction becomes a dump yard to all our problems and all our emotions just come out. And what do you do when you need advice? Whom do you call? શાસ્ત્રીજી. કોઈ એટલું દૂધથી ધોવાયેલું નથી કે શાસ્ત્રીજીને ફોન કરવાનો છે. I host a talk or an AMA, ask me anything. Half the people are asking about my personal life. No one wants problems. And you know what? Most of the time, people want to validate their wrongdoings. So that someone should tell them, no, no, your conscience is clean enough to take this step. I'm not here for such validations. So, Prabhu Pranam Napko, mere dur se. Doesn't work that way. Would you try to call a person whom you feel is sorted?
Yes.
Sorted se ekdam. Would you? Would you like kind of look up to one person whom you think is intellectually better than you? At least if you need advice. If you don't need advice and મને બધું આવડે, you are an MBA, then good for you. મન તો ના આવડે. તમને આવડે, good for you. Vidur was that Sankat Samayni Sakad for Dhritarashtra. And Dhritarashtra would feel stressful, send that Vidur would come. And that leads to a book which is called Vidur Niti. Now, Vidur Niti is something that comes in Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita has Vidur Niti in it. There are a good amount of chapters where, okay, how many of you will invest in stock market? ટેણિયા તારી ઉંમર શું છે? Okay, all of you invest in stock market. Do you understand the concept of stop loss? Is it advisable to have stop loss or not? Why is it advisable to have stop loss? You are dumb if you don't have a stop loss. And in Vidur Niti's words, you are a pandit if you know a stop loss. The definition of pandit is not just that someone who has learned Ved, Shastra and they are experts in that. Someone who even tactfully deals in daily life is also considered to be a pandit. In generic language, you might call this person shatir. In English, you might call this person talented. In Sanskrit, intellectually superior people are also called pandit. Have you ever been with that one friend or one person in your life who takes a lot of time to do one single task? એક કામ આપ્યું હોય અને પતાવે જ નહીં જલ્દી. છે કોઈ એવું તમારા જીવનમાં? હા કે ના તો કયો યાર. હા, તો Vidur Niti terms such category of people as well as some other thing. There's a specific terminology for them as well. It starts with ma and ends with kha. Definitely murk. Now, I have a question. Someone calls you and someone says Jai Shri Krishna, and has it ever happened to you? You've heard some Vaishnavas talking to each other and asking, Thakurji Anand Ma Chhe Ke Nathi? I can see 2-3 nods there. Good. So your question is, Thakurji Anand Ma Chhe Ke Nathi? That means, is your Thakurji happy? Is your Thakurji blissful or not? Generally, the Vaishnav's answer is yes. Thakurji is happy. Thakurji is in a blissful format. What is the intention behind this? वो नानी बात है. वो नानी बात है. Side outcome. Not necessarily. कल आप 4 पैग मार के आ गए, ठाकुर जी is not going to be happy. हाँ. हाँ. No.
Are you doing the seva or not?
Maybe not.
Like all is well.
Maybe. Not 100% there, but maybe. See, this is the beauty between the two Vaishnavas when they're talking to each other. While a Vaishnav asking the other Vaishnav, or while a Sevak asking the other Sevak that, how is your Thakurji doing? That is a reminder to that Vaishnav, oh, I got a chance to remember my Thakurji. And in return, in reciprocation, when the same Vaishnav cross questions, stating, how is your Thakurji? This gives a moment to the person who was asking about the Thakurji first at the same time. Let me tell you one thing. Devotees are looking for smaller moments to remember that ultimate tattva of the world. And I'll give you a very minute observation. What is that group of keys called? What do you call it? Where there are 6-7 keys in one unit. Chavi no guccho. What other words were there? Sure. Need a desi word for it, not a videsi word for it. Judo. And the judo, can it be also called as jumkho? Some people even call it as jumkho. Some people call it as judo. Chavi no judo. Now, you might feel it's a casual thing. Chavi no judo. Why is he talking about this? Have you observed ladies who used to ensure the chavi ka juda used to be here? Yeah? That was a practice. That still may be a practice at a lot of houses. This chavi ka juda was specifically kept over here, and specifically for those Vaishnavas who have a separate Thakurji ka room. They would lock that room, and that chavi ka juda was always here. Why? With the thought of Yashoda stating, my Thakurji will never run away from me. This is the minutest detail of those who are doing seva of Thakurji. In the second adhyaya of Tritiya Skanda, Vidur and Udhav meet. Now, mind you, Vidurji has admiration for Thakurji. Udhav is devoted to Thakurji. Vidur happens to ask a lot of questions about Thakurji, and not just Thakurji. He happens to ask about Balramji, Devki, Yashoda, Vasudevji, Nandrayji, Pandav Ityadi, etc. They're asking a lot of questions. Udhavji is so engrossed in Thakurji's Leela He's only answering questions about Thakurji. And this is my personal observation with a lot of Ba who are aged in nature. You ask them anything about them, they won't answer. But the minute you ask anything about Sevanath, they are very active. They don't know what is going on in Anupama serial. They don't know where their grandchildren are. They have zero idea what's happening outside the house. They don't know whether Trump is winning or losing or whether India is winning or losing. They don't give a damn about it. But if you ask them one word of any one Varta from one another place altogether, the memory will be so sharp. The muscle memory will give you all the answers. The muscle memory will literally make you speak the entire Leela. Such is the case with Udhavji. It's like when you ask something to Udhavji will only talk about Thakurji and he'll discard everything else. And in case if you are someone who likes to read, I'm giving you a hint. Try reading subchapter 2 and subchapter 3 of Skanda 3. Open Śrīmad Bhāgavata Ji, Skanda 3, chapter 2 and chapter 3. You will realize that the entire Leela that Thakurji has done in Dashma Skanda, a small shorter version of it, it's like a I'm not sure how many of you can relate to this, but it's like a 21 textbook series. You read it just before the examination so that you can pass. It's like a revision material. These two adhyayas are just like that. They serve like a revision material because over here Uddhavji is getting a chance to express the Leelas that he remembers. And that is exactly what Uddhavji is answering. Uddhavji is not answering anything else. I have a question for all of you. Why should we go to the holy places? Grab the energy from there. कुंभ क्यों गए थे? For self. Understanding the Leela of that place. Very good. Sorry? Positive vibes.
This is the thought of being in the same place where so many seers and all of them have been.
Thought of being at a place where so many devotees would have been there, so many seekers would have been there. Sure, makes sense. Increase the connection between you and તમારો ઘરમાં ભગવાન એના માટે 5000 કિલોમીટર દૂર કેમ જવાનું? Sure.
The value and the importance.
Sure.
And then when you hear the stories from all the Showas and all over there,
Hmm.
you know, it makes you feel closer.
Hmm.
It makes you want to learn more.
All your answers are right. All your answers are absolutely right. Sorry? Satisfaction. Okay. Fantastic. Kirtanli Leelaone જાણવા માટે. Absolutely yes. Anyone has this feeling મારે પાપ ધોવા જવું છે? પાપ ધોવું could possibly one of the not so great motives to go to a Tirtha Kshetra. And here I'm going to explain you 2 words, 3 actually. You can even note them down if you want to. The first one is called Tirtha. Tirtha is that place where importance of water is more. Gangotri, Yamunotri, Prayag. The second word is called Kshetra. Kshetra is where the importance of land is like the importance of the bhumi is more, the importance of the land is more. Can you think of any such example? Kurukshetra, of course. Debatable. Naimisharanya, Tirth, Jal. Raman Reti again has Yamuna ji. Kedarnath, Badrinath. No, not Chardham. You're mixing two things now. Gangotri, Yamunotri are Tirtha. Kedarnath, Badrinath are Kshetra. Importance of land. Dwarka has Gomti. Rishikesh is again, it has both important. So this is the third category. Where both land and water are important, they are called Tirtha Kshetra. Kashi, Mathura, Dwarka, all these places. So Vraj, some portion is Tirtha Kshetra. Why? Because Vrindavan has Yamuna ji, Mathura has Yamuna ji, Gokul has Yamuna ji. So all these places have Yamuna ji. Giriraj Govardhan by itself is a Kshetra, no doubt in that. But you cannot say that entire Vraj is a Kshetra alone or a Tirth alone because it's a combination of both. So now I hope you know Tirtha Kshetra and Tirtha Kshetra combined are those important places. Now there are two angles to this. Number one, when you visit these places only with the purpose of Pap Mukti, it's fine. There's no doubt in that. If you are going to these places to understand the importance of these places, understand the Leelas over there, understand the historical background, it's a better motive in comparison to Papa Mukti. And if your ulterior motive, let's say, you come slightly on the Pushti angle, you do not have the intent of merely visiting temples and bowing them down. Rather, you want to feel the essence of what Krishna might have felt. The kind of experiences that he would have had, and the kind of experiences that you may face while listening to various kathas and leelas of him. It's a far more better motive in comparison to the previous two as well. Now, you might have a concern, how is the second one and third one different? The second one, you have an intent of exploring and knowing. The third one, you have an intent of knowing those places much better so that you can apply those emotions and sentiments in your daily practice as well. Now, what do I mean by applying them in your daily practices? So, to give you an idea around it, most of you have gone to Mathura, gone to Gokul and Vrindavan. Yamuna ji flows at all three places. You might have done Yamuna Pujan. What is the role of Yamuna ji in Seva? Messenger, Jhari, what else? Fantastic. Yamuna ji brings devotees closer to Thakur ji. Lovely. What else? She's always ready for the Vaishnavas. Good. What else? You meet Yamuna ji is equivalent to meeting Thakur ji. Good. What else?
When we take Brahman, she's the one who runs to Shikhlava and says, you one bhakti.
Bhavnatmak, but fair. I appreciate that. That's it. Okay. Okay.
And when we take her name, all our problems are gone.
That's true. Makes sense. You can only value something once you know the importance of it. Until unless you don't visit Yamuna Ji, or until unless you don't know more about Yamuna Ji, how will you know how is she helpful in Seva? How will you know how ready she is for Seva? How will you know her love for Thakurji in Seva? How will you know that she is actually wearing the same dress that as Thakurji has worn? You all have seen Yamuna Ji wearing mukut and a long hirdar dress, right? Which is called kachni. If you haven't seen, actually, wait, I can show you it. Right side. Left side of Thakurji, right side of us. Just ahead of a cow. There's a story behind it. She's dressed exactly as Thakurji, if you can realize. It's copy paste. So, if you visit these places of eminence and importance, you will realize the value that they hold in our lives. And along with that, you'll understand visiting them is going to be a blessing for us. And somehow, we need private identities like all of us to come and contribute and revive our rivers in the future, especially Yamuna Ji. Politically, they are trying to clean it from Delhi. Politically, it requires cleaning from Uttar Pradesh as well. I am recently interacting with officials who are involved in the Yamuna cleaning mission. And mission is going on since last 25 years. This is the difference between the governance that you have and the governance that we have. 5 years ago, when I came, a canal never existed. They made it within the period of 6 months to 1 year. Till that extent that they even connected a canal to the marina and they developed a new area altogether. And since last 25 years, we are still begging in front of the government to just stop the waste to be flowing into a river, which seems to be of religious importance to us. And more than religious importance, it has enough affluent elements that it can be used for irrigation. Life is not just Ganga. A Prayag is incomplete without a Yamuna. So if you realize the importance of it, you will be able to stand up for it, and while standing up for it, you will be also be the one to make other people aware that your contribution in saving such rivers is going to be essential. Eventually, Udhav departs. Vidur meets a sage called as Maitreya. Now comes the scientific arena where Maitreya is a rishi. He will start explaining Vidur. Vidur has a lot of questions of how the universe was made. So, sage Maitreya will answer those questions. And in that, Vidur's previous birth is going to be spoken about. I'm not sure how many of you all are aware about Vidur's previous birth. Do you know his previous birth story? No? Uh, in the previous birth, there was one mistake made while giving. So, there was a small kid under the age of 5. This kid made a mistake. And because the kid made a mistake, that kid was eventually punished. And the kid challenged the decision, stating that I'm under the age of 5. All the mistakes made by me are actually my parents are responsible for it. And since the punishment given by Yamraj was an error, he was forced to incarnate as Vidur in the next birth. One of the reasons why Vidur is intellect and knows what is dharma. So it doesn't matter, even if you're God, you make a mistake, you come down on planet Earth. Now, appearance of the cosmic body. Appearance of the cosmic body leads to one creation after the another. It leads to Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra to be born. Apart from that, Srimad Bhagavad Ji's history, where did it originate from? Where did it reach? What was the lineage? What was the flow? Has also been discussed in this particular skanda. In this particular skand, we'll be speaking about Brahmaji. Why? Because at one fine stage when Bhagavan is residing on his Sheshanag, he is being served by Lakshmi. From his navel comes out one lotus on which Brahmaji is residing. And in one of the adhyayas of Srimad Bhagavad Ji, you'll also realize that Brahmaji, when he incarnates, when he is born, he couldn't see anyone. In order to find his source, he lands up looking in different directions. And from one face, Brahmaji now has four different faces. Technically, he had five. And one day he lied in front of Shivji, and Shivji ensured that one face was gone. And since that day onwards, Chaturanana refers to four-faced Brahma. And in other terms, it's also said that four Ved, those come from four faces of Brahma. That is also one understanding as per the scriptures. But I want to speak with you something more scientific in nature. And that is why I'm going to draw your attention towards anyone who's aware of this theory. What do you know about this theory? I'm not talking about the show on Netflix. Huh? I'm not talking about that annoying guy who keeps on knocking three times. I'm not talking about his younger version either. I'm talking about a theory which is propounded by a scientist of your era. What's the name of the scientist? Stephen Hawking. So tell me, what is the Big Bang theory? Physics professor?
Because millions of years ago, the started with a bang, and then all the planets and the stars started moving away.
She sounds like that introductory song of Big Bang Theory movie. Explosion thunder, na 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 na. All started with a big bang, bang. You literally sounded like that right now. Sorry, I've forgotten the lyrics. I don't remember it, but yeah, it literally sounded like that. But do you know what those two particles were? You told me that some collision has happened. Right? So for collision to happen, there has to be two, right? Collision cannot happen from one. So were they protons? Were they neutrons? Were they electrons? What were they? Huh? કાંઈક તો બે હતું. હા? શું હતું ભગવાન જાણે. That's why they were God's particle. See, this is the beauty. Dharma Shastra knows what those particles were. My psychology friend, hear me out. There was this one element called Brahma. Mind my words, I'm not using the word Brahma. I'm using the words Brahma. That Brahma manifests itself, and there's a saying in Upanishad, Sa ekaki naramate sa dvitiyam icchat. I'll translate it for you. Sa ekaki naramate refers to one cannot play alone. In order to play, you need two. That individual identity splits into two and now plays against each other. And while playing against each other, it leads to the theory as per the Shastra. You can read over here, Tata Akasha Sambhutaha. Now, what does Tata Akasha Sambhutaha refers to? After that bang, the first thing that got made was Akash, which is the sky. From that Akash, Akashat Vayuhu, that means the pressure, air came from the sky. So all your atmosphere, troposphere, stratosphere, whatever spheres that you have in this universe are somehow aligned to Vayu. Next is Vayoho Agnihi. From Vayu came the fire. From fire came the water. Agnehe Apaha. And Adbhyah Prithvi refers to from water came the earth. Now, take a step behind and think logically what is more in proportion? Land, water, fire, air, or the sky? Lesser than that? Lesser than that? Fire. Because we are not the only planet that has fire. Lesser than that is? Lesser than that is? Prithvi refers to Earth. Now, mind you, Stephen Hawking gave that theory in the last 50 years. And as per scientific evidence, let's say, as per your understanding and as per your Wikipedia research, latest by latest Vedas were written 5,000 years ago. This theory is 5,000 years old as per historical facts that you consider. For us, Vedas are even older than that. So what Stephen Hawking is propounding to you in the last 50 years has been propounded by someone who has written the Upanishads. You still need more evidences that science has some relation with dharma? Or are you satisfied with this now? And let's say if you still need more evidences, I have this one question for you. Ignore the word Lord. What did Bhagavan make first? Food to eat or humans first? Vanaspati came earlier to humans. પેલા ભાતું પછી ખાવા વાળો. પેલા રસોઈ બને પછી ખાવા વાળો આવે. So even before humans came into existence, the consumption arrangements were already made. And since we are, what do we say? I'm on a bridge. What do I mean by a bridge? I'm in middle of the West and the East right now. I want to propose to you the thought between Darwin versus Rishi. What will Darwin tell you? We have a theory of evolution. So according to Darwin, we have come from monkeys. Am I right? According to Darwin, na? If we have come from monkeys, then please answer the next three questions of mine. What is your Gotra? What if you don't have one? And let's say if you don't know answer of the first two questions, I have a third question. Are you sons of monkeys or what? First question. Do you know what's a gotra? One of the rishis with whom we have a connection with. For example, I'm a Vatsas. So Vatsas is my gotra. That means somewhere my family would have been descendants of this particular rishi. Now let's say, what if you don't know your gotra? One arrangement has been made in the Shastra stating if you don't know your gotra, since you are human, you are a Manav. Manav has a direct connection with the rishi called as Kashyap. So you'll end up having a gotra called as Kashyap. Now, last question. I understand Kashyap gave birth to Asurs. I understand Kashyap was also fundamental for giving birth to Devtas. He was also fundamental to give birth to humans, also fundamental to give birth to snakes and whatnot. So now you have to decide, are you a descendant of a monkey or are you a descendant of a rishi? I am not going to prove it for you. The ball is in your court. બહુ ભણ્યું વેસ્ટર્ન, બહુ ભણ્યું વેસ્ટર્ન તમે, થોડું ઈસ્ટર્ન ભણવા લાગો. શુદ્ધ ગુજરાતીમાં કહો તો પાશ્ચાત્ય જેટલું ભણવાનું હતું ભણાઈ ગયું. Do you know what is પાશ્ચાત્ય? Western. I mean, Girish Kaka would have loved it, but Girish Kaka sometimes feels lost. નાના સ્ટેન્ડ વયા ગયા આજે તો કંટાળી ગયા લાગે છે. I want to introduce you to a rishi known as Kanad. Have you heard of Kanad? No? Acha. Ishan, hi. What's up? How are you doing? I have a question to you. Have you studied science? Have you heard of molecules? What are molecules made up of? શું બોલ્યો? No idea. સાયન્સમાં તુક્કા મારતો હતો કે તું જય માતા દી 1, જય માતા દી 2. Has he studied? Has he studied molecules yet? No, no. પણ એ એજ કરતા આગળ છે એટલે I felt like asking. Have you studied molecules? Not really. Your mother has studied, so we'll ask her. અરે અરે તમને પૂછું છું. Atoms. What are atoms made up of? બધી માઓ જવાબ આપે છે. Protons, electrons and neutrons. Okay. Are atoms something that can be seen by the naked eyes? When was the atomic theory established? Ishan, open ChatGPT and ask when was the atomic theory established? I'm giving him a task that he likes. I hope you're opening up. Thanks, yeah. Love you. Huh? 1945. Thanks, yeah. This is Rishi Kanad. And now ask the same ChatGPT when did Rishi Kanad speak about Kanad's atomic theory? Ask the same ChatGPT when did Kanad write his atomic theory? If you gave me a 1945 answer, I'm expecting you to contribute, Tanushri. I mean, you're doing such a nice save of making it live. 600 BC? So 1900 years anyway, plus 600 years. So that's about 2500 years ago. And Kanad didn't have any apparatus, magnifying glass, nothing. And mind you, even before Karnak propounded it, in our Vayu Puran it has already been mentioned, Parmanuhu susukshmastu. Susukshmastu. That means it cannot be seen by our naked eyes. You've got enough reels about the exact distance between the sun and the moon and the earth, and you've got enough evidences from Hanuman Chalisa regarding the same thought. I'm assuming you all are aware of that. Yuga Sahasra Yojana Parabhanu. Yeah. Now imagine not having a Calci as big as Apple or Samsung, and with introduction of zero being done by an Indian origin, and yet the Western world will keep debating, yanking about it. We even had timelines in place which were as low as 10 raised to minus 7 and as high as 10 raised to 24. So 10 square, 10 cube, 10 raised to 4, 10 raised to 24. So we had a concept of time like you might. So these Pandits, when they do the Sankalp in the morning, they make you say, द्वितीय परार्धे श्वेतवाराह कल्पे सप्तमे वैवस्वतमन्वन्तरे अष्टाविंशतितमे कलियुगे कलिप्रथमचरणे भूर्लोके. So while they're making you calculate time, now imagine this: you don't have a calci, you don't have a calculus, and yet you are being able to calculate the amount of time that has already gone and the amount of time that is going to come next. For example, do you know the age of Kalyug? કેટલા વર્ષનો છે આ કલયુગ? તમારા દાંત કેટલા છે? એના આગળ એક 4 લગાડો એટલે 4 32 અને એના પાછળ પાછા 4 0 3 0 લગાડો. કેટલા થયા? 4,32,000 years. When did Kalyug start? 3102 BC. How many years are we in? Roughly some 5,400. How many more years to go? 4,26,000 plus. Acha, in this as well, some people debate that this is as per human calculation, this has to be as per divine calculation. Let's just say, even if you want to divide it by 100, it's still 4,320 years in total. And if you want to divide everything by 100, then only 50 years have gone, and still there are more years to go. 5,000 divided by 100 is 50. Ne? So if you're dividing the total years, you also have to divide the proportional years. That's how your A is equal to B. Now if Kalyug is 4,32,000 years, how much would Dwapar be? Dva. Treta. And Sati Yuga or Kruta Yuga. So when you combine all of these, 4,32,000, 8,64,000, 12,96,000, and 17 plus plus, the amount of time that is being spent in a yuga is crazy. And along with the yuga, there are physical evidences of humans as well being as long, as high, as tall, as big, and their age brackets also changed. The Bhishma Pitama that we mentioned about was at least 400 years old when he passed away. Bhagwan Shri Krishna's estimated age was about 125 years before Kali Yuga. Bharatiya community is blessed with long lives. May Thakurji give you blessed with healthy and long life at the same time. Yeah, knocking off 90 in your families is very easy. It's like a ballpark. You will not just see 4 generations. Sometimes you even see 5 generations sitting together. And we take pride in listening to that. Huh? We feel happy when we hear 4 generations stay in the same house. It's not a small thing. Like I've been blessed. I've seen my grandfather's father. So I know what it takes to. I'm not sure if I'll be able to do the same in future. But I know what it takes to have 4 generations in one house. So this is the calculation of Yuga. Similarly, there's a calculation of Manvantar as well. So when you take Satyug, Treta, Dwapar, and Kali, and you multiply it by 71, that's when one Manvantar passes by. And if I'm not wrong, there are 14 such Manvantars. And when 14 such Manvantar pass, one Kalpa is passed. And the calculation of Kalpa is about 4.3 billion years. Now, Ishan, my ChatGPT friend, calculate the age of Big Bang Theory. When did that blast happen? જેને જેનું કામ હોય ને એને જ કામ દેવાય. Right? When did that blast happen? How many years ago did it happen? 13.8 billion years ago. So that means 3 kalpa is the history. When 3 kalpa would have passed, Big Bang Theory would have happened then. હજી સાયન્સ ભણાવું કે ખ્યાલ આવ્યો તમને લોકોને? The calculation of time, discovery of zero, all of these things have been in place. Now Brahmaji, who was born, Brahmaji thought, let's increase the universe. So Brahmaji first created the 4 boys, the Brahmachari 4 boys, Sanat Kumar. When Sanat Kumar were requested, please create the protege forward, Sanat Kumar said, we are not going to do it. हमें नहीं परणी है, हमें नहीं बनावे कोई ना. And that's the moment where out of Brahmaji comes a boy who is crying, and because he was crying, he was known as Rudra. હે શિવજી બ્રહ્માજી દીકરા છે. Welcome to the world of Bhagavat. We shatter all your previous notions. Are your previous notions wrong? No. They're not wrong. But they are not updated. Now, what do I mean by they are not wrong and they are not updated? I have a question and pay attention to what I'm asking. આ દુનિયા કેટલી વાર બની છે? આ સૃષ્ટિ કેટલી વાર બની છે? How many times has this universe come into existence? મારા સાથે વાત કરો. You don't have a count of how many times the universe has been made. And let me introduce you to a concept called as Kalpa Bheda. Bheda. What is Kalpa Bheda? I'll give you an example. Brahmins would understand this quickly. And if you have slight interest in reading these scriptures, even you will understand it. You all know about Parikshit, right? You all know how Parikshit's life ends as well.
Yes.
But the end of Parikshit's life is different in Bhagavata and it's different in Mahabharata. It's like me telling you Harry Potter killed Voldemort in different ways. Are you understanding what I'm trying to say? It's literally like me telling you Harry Potter killed Voldemort in different ways. In both the cases, a snake only comes and bites Parikshit. But the location where Parikshit is different in Mahabharata and different in Bhagavad. So there's a higher possibility that we might have interacted in some other birth, in some other universe, in some other time frame that we are not aware of. This is not the first time that Thakurji has done Leela. Thakurji has done Leela multiple times. Parallel, perpendicular, withhold, time frame, controlled, absorbed, whichever adjectives you have, put them all in this place. It could be co-current, it could be lapsed, it could be constant, because Bhagwan's Leela is Nitya, our Buddhi is not. And this is beyond our imagination and acceptance, because we're not fine-tuned only to understand this. See, in other words, tell me one thing. Can that one Swarup be at multiple places at the same time?
Yes.
So why can't we do Leelas at multiple times? If he wants, he can do it in one frame as well. If he wants, he can do it in concurrent frames as well.
No, but it's Parikshit's story in Bhagavatam. Is at in what era, and the one in Mahabharata is a different era, right?
That's exactly the subject of interest that we all have, and we as Pandits are also trying to find answers to that.
Can't be consonant.
Sorry?
It has to be different eras, not consonant.
In this case, it evidently feels that it will be at different time zones. But there's a higher chance that the Leela that Thakurji might be doing right now could be doing it somewhere else at the same time. There's a higher possibility.
The same group is doing something.
Maybe, we don't know. It's just that beyond our imagination and acceptance as well. Has it ever happened with you? આ મારા સાથે પેલા થયેલું છે. It's that flashback happening to you. यार, I've witnessed this earlier before. અમારું ઇંગ્લિશ એટલું સારું નથી. Deja vu. Some souls are blessed to know what has happened to them. Some souls are not. So this is wrong. Now please pay attention to what I'm going to say next. Thakurji himself puts forth the Devi or a Devta when they are supposed to do the Leela. They give them the liberty to do things the way they are supposed to. Thakurji takes a backseat. Because those particular devotees have to be accessed by that particular ultimate form of reality, and the Leela needs to happen in that way. For example, Shivji and Parvatiji's wedding has to happen in a particular way so that the devotees of those particular category get attracted to that Leela. As a Vishnu Bhakta, you may not be able to relate to this concept, but the minute if I ask Shiv Bhakta, do you understand the Leela of Shivji and Parvatiji that they were getting married on a particular day, they'll be able to relate to it. And for conclusion, not me, even Vedavyas is stating that at the end of the day, Narayan who is everything. So am I insulting Shivji? I'm just giving you a different perspective of Bhagavad Gita. Rudra cried. Brahmaji blessed him, stating that you'll have 11 places to be, you'll have 11 names, you'll have 11 wives, etc. etc. And when Shivji was requested to create further, guess what Shivji made? What would those forms be like? Have you ever seen followers of Shivji? Aghorebhyo, Khagorebhyah. So Shivji made bhayanak forms. Brahmaji is like, please stop it. You will be the only one who will be able to handle them. So even Shivji requested not to take this creation further. And eventually, the rishis have been incarnated. In your language, it's Sapta Rishi. In this case, including Naradji, some 10 rishis are Marichi, Angiras, Pulastya, etc. are being incarnated. Mind you, for a specific timeline, the Sapta Rishis also change. For a specific timeline, the Sapta Rishis also change. Like for example, when we all do pranayam in the morning, when you have to take sankalpa, what do we land up saying? Saptar Vyahutanam Vishwamitra Jamadagni Varadvaj Gautama Atri Vashishta Kashyapa Rushayaha Gayatri Trushtu Anushtu Bruhati Pankti Jagati Channausi Agni Vayu Aditya Haji Be Devtana naam yaad nahi aa rahe મને. But basically, when you're doing the sankalpa, at that point of time, you have to remember 7 rishi, 7 chanda, and 7 devatas. And these unit of 777 changes in a particular timeline. That's why you will find contradictory answers to a concept called Saptarishi. It's like your cabinet ministry that changes every 5 years.
Constants or everybody changes?
Depends. What timelines?
So how do you connect your both the ways? That's changing.
In the current era તો મીનો ને આપણે તો આ એરાથી મતલબ heavy na
Yeah.
very heavy. That's why everyone directly loves Krishna avatar. It's easy na, it's easy to know such things. That's why. Then we speak about Ved and Upaved. I hope you all are aware of Upaved. There are 4 Ved, but there are 4 subsidiary Ved as well. Dhanurved, Ayurved, Gandharva Ved, and Sthapatya Ved. Dhanurved is for warfare, Ayurved is for health, Gandharva Ved is for singing, and Sthapatya Ved is for architecture. Comes one of my favorite avatars, Rag Malav. Rag Malav. જે ઓલી પ્રલય પયોધીની ઓલી જે લાઈન મોકલેલી હતી તમને વોટ્સએપ પર બસ ઈ ગાવાની તૈયારી આપે કરવી પડશે. It brings me to a story of Yagna Varaha the boar. Who is Yagna Varaha the boar? Once upon a time, there was a Mata called as Diti. Diti, at an inappropriate time, wanted to mitigate with Kashyap. The inappropriate time was the evening, because the evening time is considered to be of Mahadevji. Mahadevji comes to visit at all the houses in the evening where Bhagwan Naam is being taken. And where activities opposite of being are happening, Mahadevji kinda is not happy with those families as well. Diti in that case didn't have the right act and got afflicted, eventually gave birth to 2. And in this case, who will those 2 be is connected with the story of Sanak and the 3 brothers. So Sanat Kumar, they wanted to do Bhagavan's darshan. They go to Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha has 7 doors. Out of those 7 doors, they could surpass 6 doors. At the 7th door, they met 2 bodyguards called as Jay and Vijay. Now, since Jay and Vijay couldn't pass the last door, they insulted Sanat Kumar. Sanat Kumar gave them a curse, stating that now you have a choice. Whether you be enemy of Bhagwan in 3 births, or whether you be friends or lovers of Thakurji for 7 births. So, all the Devis and Prabhujis over here. Mind you, it's not an ISKCON termed word just to call ladies as Devis and Bhais Prabhujis. If they want, they can put me a copyright infringement case. I'll fight it. So all my devs and devis over here, I have a question to you. You have a situation to, and there's no third option, so don't try to be smart. The situation is very simple. 3 births of enemy and 7 births of friendship. What would you choose? 3 births of enemy or 7 births of friendship? The choice is yours. In this case, Jay and Vijay decide to become the enemies, and they got this concession because Bhagavan said that they were my mistake, that I had appointed them. And since they were Bhagavan's devotees, Bhagavan got some concession, and that's why they got reduced to stating that you will be having 3 births as enemies. And eventually they get born as Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyaksha refers to someone who has a lusty eye, always looking out for greed, continuously filled with greed, and was capable enough to win over the earth. Since he won over the earth was submerged in water. Now, slightly logical in nature, I'm not sure if you'll relate to this, but I'll try to explain it to you. In order to identify the earth, you need smell. Earth has its own peculiar smell. And in order to gain earth from water, in order to get back earth from water, a lot of people went to Sri Brahmaji. By the time Brahmaji could even think, a small identity comes out from his nose, starts taking bigger form, bigger form, bigger form, eventually takes the form of a boar, which is known as a Varaha. And this Varaha is being sung by us. So Yogini Bain and Girish Bhai is now going to sing a small Leela in Sanskrit, which is a Varaha. It's like a beautiful melody in Rag Malaf. It's a 3-liner only. I'll explain you the meaning behind that as well. જોઈશું તો આજ જોઈશું.
Sati Dashana Shikare Dharani Kavala Shashini Kalankale Nimana Keshava Dhruta Shukal Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Vasati Dashana Shikare Dharani Kavara Lata Jai Jagadisha Hare
Padmadharo Janatapanivarana Padmadharo Janatapanivarana
Padmadharo Janatapanivarana
Chakrasudarsandharo Kamalakari Bhaktanaki Raksha ke Karana
Padmadharo Janatapanivarana Padmadharo Janatapanivarana
Sankhya Vipudara Vidarana गदाधरी
दुष्कर्म संहारण शंखधरो रिपुदर विदारण गदाधरी दुष्टन संहारण चारु भुजा
चार आयुधर चार
भुजा चारो आयुधर
नारायण भुज भार उतारण
नारायण भुज भार उतारण पद्मधरो जन ताप निवारण पद्मधरो जन ताप निवारण
दीनानाथ दयाल जगत गुरु
दीनानाथ दयाल जगत गुरु
आरती हरण भक्त चिंतामणि
आरती हरण भक्त चिंतामणि
परमानंद दास को ठाकुर परमानंद
दास को ठाकुर
परमानंद दास को ठाकुर
यह अवसर छानो जनी
जय हो सरय ठानो दीना
पद्मधरो जन ताप निवारण
चक्र सुदर्शन धरो कमल कर
पद्मधरो जनताप निवारण पद्मधरो जनताप निवारण ताप निवारण ताप निवारण ताप निवारण
श्री यज्ञवराह देव की जय. See, the fight between Hiranyaksh and Varaha was not a normal one. Hiranyaksh was a mighty fighter, and the role of a boar, mind you, boar has a small. If you might have observed, has a small nose, and it could smell a lot of things. Bhagavan specifically takes a form where he has tusk, and at the same time he has a nose. The nose is to identify earth from the water, and the tusk is to behold the earth while he is fighting. Mind you, Hiranyaksh is a good fighter, and eventually Bhagavan gets pissed and eventually destroys Hiranyaksha. And that's why Yagnavara has been extolled by not just in Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, tell me.
Someone's call is blocking someone's call.
I love this announcement. It's car number 65895. Already gone? Okay. So the creation of various identities continues. There's a rishi called as Kardam. And you know why does he go for tapasya? He goes for the tapasya to get a good wife. બેવ બાજુથી રિએક્શન નથી. બધા પરણેલા થાકી ગયા લાગો છો. In order to marry the right kind of wife, In current language, people will say, "Kya papad bele hai?" But Kardam Rishi went till the extent that he did tapasya, eventually got the blessings, and he had a desirous wife. And this desirous wife happens to be Devahuti. Devahuti spends most of her life in taking care of Kardam. But Devahuti ji never complained. Years later, when Kardam realized that Devahuti has spent so many years in taking care of me, Kardam Rishi has a conversation with Devahuti, stating that you've served me for so many years, and it's time that I make it up with you. Now, how do I make it up with you? I think that it's a very beautiful concept. You may take it otherwise if you want to, but Kardam Rishi insists Devahuti ji to go under the water and technically have a spa. So under the water, I mean, this is Dubai. You can create man-made beauty very easily over the water, above the water, below the water. I'm assuming there's a restaurant as well as under the water. During Kardam Rishi's time, natural elements were more. So there were a lot of what do you call jadi booties, which are present under the water, and those jadi booties were used to apply against the skin. And when they were applied against the skin, they had good effects of it. And till that extent that some of these would even smell like two of them that I'm aware of, Padmini and Shankhini. Padmini refers to the one which has lotus smell. Now, I'm certain you might have eaten a lot of lotus roots with rice. If you are an Asian food aspirer, then you might have surely made the most of it. So, as soon as Shri Devahuti ji comes out of the water, she's smelling like the lotus. And it happens to be a very good coincidence that lotus has also been offered today to Thakurji at the same time. Mind you, Thakurji loves lotus more than any other flowers. And in leaves, Thakurji loves tulsi more than any other flowers. So, along with that, Kardam Rishi creates a flight for Devahuti ji. It's like in current era, husband gifting a wife a trip. In this case, Kardamji was not even expected to fly. It didn't even have a pilot. So you can say it was an automated drone slash flight which could fly around wherever they wanted to. Now, there are restrictions for flights. They cannot go beyond a certain atmosphere. This could even go till the area of moon and come back. You claim to love till the moon and back. Kardamji could actually go and come back. Yeah. And this also has served as one of the historical points for aviation industry to have known that the art of flying was evident even before the Wright brothers actually made planes. Because Ravan had a plane, so did Kardam Rishi, and so that other gods and goddesses as well, so that other devis and devatas as well. So yeah, Kardam and Devahuti are supposed to be kind of the ideal relationship between a husband and a wife, and where the husband has also been the one who has taken care of the wife and not just the other way around. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't had a got chance to take care of your wife still yet, life is too short to have those regrets. Start taking efforts. Don't want to take efforts, don't take efforts. Not no one's forcing you. પણ આવા સેડ નહીં બેસો તમે લોકો બધા દુઃખી આત્મા થઈ ગયા છે એવું લાગે છે સુખી થાવ થોડા જીવનમાં or maybe I'm single, that's why I'm sukhi. Irony of life is someone who has not married is speaking about Grihasth Ashram. Even they are looking at me. Anyway. So the married life of Kardam, Rishi and Devahuti ji went really well. They were blessed with Kapil. Kapil happens to be Bhagwan's avatar, one of the Jnana avatars again. And now Kapil ji has an interaction. Eventually, Kardam Rishi decides that I'll retire, I'll move on in life, goes for tapasya. Devahuti sits with Kapil. And Kapil ji is now having a conversation with Kapil Maharaj and Devahuti ji are having a conversation. Tam tva gatam sharanam sharanyam. Shelter of the lotus feet has been spoken a lot. Even in our Dodpad, we keep on speaking about Sharan too much. Now, what is the purpose behind Kapil ji's conversation with Mata Devahuti? There's a concept called as Sankhya. Have you heard of Sankhya? Sankhya refers to the analytical knowledge. Sankhya of Bhagavad Gita is slightly different from Sankhya of Bhagavad Gita. Sankhya of Bhagavad Gita talks about the soul. Sankhya of Bhagavad Gita is not merely talking about the soul. Sankhya of Bhagavad Gita also speaks about the various elements that are there. दुनिया में छोटी मोटी बातें होती रहती है तो माथे नहीं लेવાનું હું એ નથી લેતો તમે કેમ લો છો ચલો tell me since a lot of you went to Kumbh Prayagraj met a lot of aghoris sadhus sant tell me characteristics of a sadhu ऐसा जरूरी नहीं है अघोरी बहुत शांत था ठेकाणी पाड़ी देते देन ठीक है आई गेट इट शांत देन पीसफुल फेयर ओके देन detached liberated sure wise what else knowledgeable disciplined do they have mercy સાધુમાં મરસી નહીં હોય તો સાધુ સાધુ કેવી રીતે બનશે were they friendly just look at this translation and see if it fits your ideal visual of a sadhu or not whether they are tolerant whether they are merciful whether they are friendly they don't have enemies whether he or she is peaceful whether do they abide by the scripture or not ખબર પડી તમને કહેવાનું કોફી નહીં પીવાની ને પોતે ચિલ્લમ મારવા બેસી ગયા for people who understood it good all this is bogus who are saying now in the name of Shiva one is supposed to have all of this is bogus obnoxious favorite adjective such sadhus are the one which has been even extolled in sadhu sant ke tum rakhware sadhu ni definition આ છે the entire conversation that we are going to have right now is only for one reason. We are supposed to speak about the 25 elements. Now, for people who are weak at mathematics, pay attention. For people who are good at mathematics, pay attention. Either cases, pay attention. The first 5 elements are called Pancha Mahabhut. Pancha refers to 5. Mahabhut refers to, over here, a combination of Prithvi, Jala, Agni, Vayu, Akasha. Then comes the 5 Tanmatras. What are the Tanmatras? Senses, smell, taste, visual forms, touch, and words. Then, are you aware of the word called as Jnanendriya? What is Jnanendriya? Five senses. Fantastic. Which are the five senses? Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. What is beyond these five senses? Which is nonsense. ऐसा वगैरह. So next time now I'll recommend this. After a Bhagavad Katha, there should be a comedy show for people. This is too tough for people na, to grasp and understand. हाँ, this is better. પડી જઈશ વાંધો નહીં, ખુરશી લઈને બેસી જઈશ, ચિંતા નહીં કરતા, કથા નહીં બગાડું તમારી. I'll tell you one incident. My second katha of life. Backdrop. Couldn't take my vajan only. Yogesh Kaka was there at that time. Chalu katha I'm speaking. Someone is using the hathoda. Talk. मैं कह व्यासपीठ डबल एक्सेल बनाओ. So don't worry. This is all. It's okay. Normal. Have you heard of the concept called karmendriya? Karma plus indriya. Until now, you were only talking about the senses through eyes, skin, tongue, nose, etc. Now I'm talking about karmendriya. Do you know what's a karmendriya? I can give you one hint of your karmendriya. Your hands. So if hands are your karmendriya, what else could be your karmendriya? Now eyes is covered, no? Thank you. So hands and legs, two. Speech, to speak rather, because tongue was in the context of taste. This is speech. And two more. Specific. सही यूं नहीं तो पहला भी कान आ गया. Mind you, calculation of elements is zero consideration for excretory body parts. Thank you. Imagine this, in the calculation of elements, excretory body parts has been given value before your heart. वो तो टूटता ही है ना. Relax. I'm going to lead you to the next one. It is going to speak about something called as Antakaran Chatushtay. Antakaran Chatushtay refers to Man, Buddhi, Chitta and Ahankar. Mind, intellect, conscience and ego. So you have Panch Mahabhut, Panch Karmendriya, Panch Jnanendriya, Panch Tanmatra. 5 4s are 20. And plus 4. How many did I tell you? છેલ્લો શું છે? Which is the last one? જે રાઈટ આન્સર આપશે એને હું કેડબરી ચોકલેટ આપીશ. યાર તમને આખી બોક્સ આપીશ યાર. Until now, you were using one word, mind, for everything. Na? Now I have bifurcated into 4 parts: mind, intellect, conscious, and ego. તારો વિષય છે. The 25th element is something you feel that you have in abundance. Life is too short to regret. And what have we done? At least in India, we pollute water. You pollute most of it in some or the other way. How do you pollute air? How do you pollute fire? Hmm. Cutting trees. Counter of cutting trees is planting trees. Do not use paper. Stop using tissue papers. Anyway, we never had a concept of tissue paper. Rumal. Mummy apelo rumal. Do whatever you want to with it. You want to this, anything. See, I'm explaining you these elements not because you already know them, but because we somehow need to protect them at our capacity. Stop blaming as to what someone else is doing. Start working upon what are you doing first. Take responsibility of your own mess. And see if you are taking some action against it or not. At least I've heard these days these Gen Z people are too cautious about certain things. They have this argument. Yeah, I think today my friend was talking about it. Weren't you? He's like, why am I opening up in front of him, man? I shouldn't have a moment of reflection. I confided in you, you treacher piece of man. I'm joking. Kevano point each is Sankhya is if you have questions like who am I, where am I from, what am I here for, what do I need to do next, please don't get scared. These are not the only questions that business coaches or life coaches or healers ask you in your real life. These are questions that even Shastra will ask you on a daily basis. Until unless you haven't found the answer to it, it will haunt you. And it's okay to get haunted. Don't feel otherwise. If these questions are coming to you, consider it Thakurji's Krupa. That he is at least making you think in this direction. Otherwise, most of the people are only worried about, okay, I'm going to tell you the categories of worry and tell me if your category, if your worry is beyond this category or not. Middle-aged people worried about parents' health. Yes, no? Worried about future of children. Is there any other worry which is more important than these two? Self health. ठीक है. एना सिवाय part of existence. Part of existence. पैसा हसे तो બધું થશે. Existential crisis. Let me put it this way. Now, any other points of botherations that you have which don't get categorized in these three? यार मारा साथे बात करो यार. Tell me. Now, for let's say Ishan or Utsav's age, worry about making a career, finding the right partner, dealing with emotional trauma, dealing with generational trauma, getting rid of that, creating a name for yourself, find the right partner for yourself, keep your mom dad happy, keep your grandparents happy, keep your friends happy, keep yourself happy. બોલ આના સિવાય કઈ છે તારા જીવનમાં? દાદાને પૂછો, દીકરા દીકરી હેપી, એમના દીકરા દીકરી હેપી. And probably if you get the fourth generation as well, Imna Dikra Dikra happy or not. And somehow being able to take care of his own self or not. Probably these are the 4 or 5 worries that uncle has right now. Am I right? Thank you. See, I like honesty is the best policy. Arish uncle is very straightforward. I like it. Now, is there anything beyond this worry that you're worried about? Which is your Raja Dharma? Like you are worried about the roads that are not clean in India or the infrastructure that is not developed over there. ઓલી ગૌશાળાની ગાયની પ્રોબ્લેમ છે ને તમને હેરાન કરી રહ્યું છે. હજી સુધી તો મેં આવા કોઈ પરોપકારના વિચારો તમારા પાસેથી તો સાંભળ્યા નથી. Those are all opinions, na? Not a daily life problems, na? That's a once in a while आक्रोश वाला problem. आज तो सुना नहीं है types. Like today I'm going to burn it down. Not a daily life problem, na? Sankhya is finding the right kind of balance amongst all of these things and solving their internal issue. And in that, sometimes it's also about going above and beyond. To think about beyond Prakriti and Purush, matter and spirit. And let's say if you want the success formula, of going through this entire game, Kapil ji is explaining that one should learn Ashtanga Yoga. Which will help you control your mind. And once you control your mind, which everyone is still learning, maybe me, maybe you, maybe people above me, maybe people below us. I mean in terms of age bracket, not in terms of value. Anyone and everyone is still learning to control the mind. It's as difficult as it seems and as easy as it can be as well. It only depends on you how committed you are to control your mind. And the best challenge of controlling of your mind is going to happen tomorrow. બે દેશની ક્રિકેટ મેચ છે. And I'm going to bring you the highlight of what you're supposed to do. Swadharmacharanam shakya vidharmacha nivartanam દૈવાલબ્ધેન સંતોષ. દૈવાલબ્ધેન સંતોષ. આ ટ્રાન્સલેશન પ્લીઝ વાંચી લેજો જાતે. Do what you can, stop what you can't. Do what you can, don't do what you can't. In other words, if you're getting a chance to be a better father, be a better father. Don't try to be a better politician. If you are getting a chance to be a better son, be a better son. Don't try to be a better speaker. If you are getting a chance to be a better human, be a better human rather than being a better philosopher. Do what's destined for you. Don't do things that are not necessary for you. Do as per your capacity. Don't even extend yourself that, tomorrow we have to carry you on our forearms. And one element, sometimes that too much ask. See, there's a difference between aspirational and at the same time having dissatisfaction. Have aspirations, there's no doubt in that. Even Arjun had to win the war. But Arjun also had a satisfaction stating, I have Krishna with me. He had to fight righteously for something that was lost, something that was theirs and that was taken away from them. Under the name of dharma, don't mix match certain things and make a cocktail and mocktail out of everything that you think. Certain things are pretty black, certain things are pretty white, certain things are grey. In certain cases, if you can be satisfied and be ready for the next challenge that you have. And if you don't have a challenge, don't create one. Just chupchap surrender and move ahead. And how do you move ahead in that surrender? For that as well, Vidurji has thought about, Kapil Maharaj has thought of a very good shlok, and that is Sanchintayet Bhagavata Charanarvindam. Think of the lotus feet of Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Charana Kamal Bando Jagadisha Jai Godana Thang Thai. That's what we sing in our Kirtan Sahitya. This lotus feet has been desired by so many people in this universe, right from Brahmaji, Shivji, Yudhishthir. So many people have desired for this lotus feet. Not everyone has been in a successful space to get it. Gopis were successful enough to get it. Probably if Thakurji lives in your house, good for you. Now I'll give you a reason why am I asking you to focus. So see, meditation generally they'll make you think about don't think anything, don't think anything, don't think anything. There has to be nothing in your mind, nothing in your mind, nothing in your mind. I appreciate that mode. But since we come from the side of bhakti, you rather have a frame in your mind, let that frame be of Bhagavan Shri Krishna's lotus feet. And in those lotus feet, there are so many chinhas in it, out of which that one chinha that I'm going to talk about is Vajra. That Vajra's job is to destroy all the sorrows in your life. I'll talk about one more, Ankush. I'm not sure how many of you have seen this, but you might have seen an elephant being controlled by a very pointed object. And elephant gets frightened because of that pointed object. That Ankush is nothing but that control that we need to achieve on our mind. Think of this lotus feet. And don't merely just think from a way of escaping. Embrace this lotus feet. Accept it. Don't do it when you need it. Sometimes do without it as well. Miracles don't always happen when you expect them. They actually happen when you're not expecting them. And the belief is the only factor that is going to bridge that gap. And you can strengthen your belief by merely focusing upon the lotus feet of Bhagavan. મને એક વસ્તુ કહો, ભગવાનના પગે કેમ પડો, માથે કેમ નથી પડતા? લોકોના માથે પડો છો, ભગવાનના તો પગે જ પડો છો ને? કેમ? Dushyant, right? Good to have you. Dushyant and me are Instagram friends since 3 years, if I'm not wrong. He replies to all my stories. I keep reverting back to him. As soon as he got the announcement Katha is happening, he was like, I'm coming. અને આવડો સારો ભાઈ જેવો દુષ્યંત નથી, સારો વાળો દુષ્યંત છે. If you haven't seen Sara Bhai or Dushyant, you're missing out on some content, I must say. Bhakti, bhakti, bhakti. Let's say even if you are meditating now, meditate upon this lotus feet of Thakurji. I think in Kirtan Sahitya only they sing, Yaha dana dharma hi te payo. What do they sing in that? Sagre kaj savare. અથવા તો બિગડે કાજ સવારે, જેની પ્રણાલી હશે. બગડેલા કામ હોય તો ભગવાન સુધારી દે છે. And last but not the least, bhakti is not specifically that what am I defining over here. Bhakti itself has multiple parts. So let's say if you don't relate to my concept of bhakti, doesn't mean the path of bhakti is wrong. Find that path of bhakti which is more appropriate for you. See, there's a very small, very sweet story. Someone went to Mahaprabhu Sri Vallabhacharya and asked, थोड़ी ठंडी बच्चे क्या? Someone went to Mahaprabhu Sri Vallabhacharya and asked, is karma marg better or jnana marg better? Mahaprabhuji had a very nice answer. Paths are appropriate as per people's desires, but according to me, bhakti is the best way forward. So I'm not even discarding karma, I'm not even discarding jnana, but I'm telling you bhakti is the way forward. And primarily what I've understood as per the Shastra, there are two types of bhakti. One with an expectation, one without an expectation. An expectation with bhakti is called as sakam bhakti. An expectation without, a bhakti without an expectation is called as nishkam bhakti. A bhakti with an expectation is called as sakam bhakti. So a sakam bhakti is like, hey Thakurji, I'll do something for you, you do this for me in return. મારું આ કામ થઈ ગયું તો નાથ દ્વારા 11 નારિયેળ ચડાવવા આવીશ અને નથ જોઈતા તારા નારિયેળ રાખતું. Nishkam bhakti is anything that I do, Thakurji, I remember you. So it's your Patotsav today. I'll make some additional samagri for you. It's your day. ઠાકોરજી કહે છે બધા જ દિવસ મારા છે, but છતાંય this is the difference between a Nishkam Bhakt and Sakam Bhakt. Sakam Bhakt will safeguard himself first. Nishkam Bhakt will always think of Thakurji first. So you decide which side of bhakti you want to be on. One very important concept. Anyone who's going to be parents in future, I think the stages of pregnancy has been described in Bhagavad. And there are enough evidences in Bhagavad Gita what happens to a baby when the baby is in the womb. Don't believe me? Rely on your scientific evidences by so-called UNICEF of the world. And then some wannabe websites called as parentingscience.com. Because a white-colored dhoti guy speaking in English sounds too fun and cool, but we may not be able to trust. But a dumb website saying something is something that we'll believe in. Even until that extent that when you read COVID, you have, symptoms of cancer. And people will still believe it. This Google Baba has spoiled you. A lot of people haven't even done Namkaran because of Google Baba. And half the names are repetitive in nature. Kiara, Dhiara, Niara, Siara, Kian, Jian, Mian, Sian. એના મતલબ શું છે ભગવાન જાણે. કોઈના નામ હશે તો I'm sorry in advance, but I'm not sorry in advance at the same time. I like the older version of them. Ramnik Lal, Chagan Lal, Magan Lal. At least they had meanings. Chagan Magan had meanings. What? Why Chagan Magan had a meaning? You guys don't know what is the meaning of Chagan Magan. Chagan Magan are two names of Thakurji. When there are Judwa Thakurjis put together, now they are called Chagan Magan. Ask them, Chagan Magan pyare lal kijiye kaleva. That's what they sing in Kirtan Sahitya. Am I right? ભલે ત્યાં છગન મગન આપણે બલદેવજી અને ભગવાન માટે કહેતા હશું, પણ શું છે? અંતે તો એક જ છે. So this is where the end of Bhakti Yoga happens. We move to the Skanda 4. We conclude the Skanda 3 Leela. We'll take Bhagwan's name, we'll do Jai Jaikar and move to Skanda 4. Shri Govardhan Nath Ki Jai. Now I'm going to introduce you to a Leela of Shivji. Shivji's first wife is Sati. Second wife is? Fantastic. So now I'm going to learn the transition from how Sati to others. So once upon a time, you know what happened? Who's Sasra of Shri Shivji? Daksha. યાર આને ચોકલેટ આપો યાર. આપણને આટલું રોજ રોજ જમાડે છે તો આપણે પણ એને સ્વીટ તો દેવી જ જોઈએ. એને પ્રસાદ આપજો આજે. હિરલ છે ને? હિરલને પ્રસાદ આપજો આજે. બેન તું જમવા બેસે ને ત્યારે અમે કે અમે બે પીરસતું તને. તારો આગ્રહ ઘણો હોય છે અમારા માટે. And he's switching back to English. That's what I've been called for. So Swayambhu Manu has daughters, Akuti, Devahuti, Prasuti. And this is one beautiful adhyay where Dharma and Dharma's wife has also been explained. But since I have limited time, I'm not going to speak much about it right now. Mind you, Dharma has multiple wives and those multiple wives have enough children. And these are all on the positive side. After certain adhyayas, there will be Adharma's parampara as well. But there was this one incident between Daksha and Shiva. Daksha happens to be Sasra, that is the father-in-law of Shri Shivji. Daksha was always jealous. Now, I want all of you to visualize people who are jealous of you for 2 minutes and tell me the reason why are they jealous of you. ભગવાને બે કાન આપ્યા છે તો એક એક સાંભળવું પડશે. You're better than them. You achieved something that they cannot. You have something that they don't. That's it.
People praise you more and they don't praise them.
Sure, makes sense. Then, okay, validate this, say a yes or a no. The causes of jealousy could be lack of self-confidence, poor self-image, fear, insecurity, inferiority complex. What are the counters against it? What do you do if you are facing all of these? Stay calm थी नहीं था. મજા આવી ગઈ સાંભળીને. ધંધો ખોલવો જ, લાયસન્સ લાવ જલ્દી. Shouldn't have said it in front of me. But good, you have a supporter. I'm happy for you. ખ્યાલ આવી ગયો. મામા ભાણ્યો 100 બ્રાહ્મણ બરાબર. And you've got 3 free. So Mama has a responsibility of 103 right now. And 100 plus 100 because you have 2 brothers as well. Mama મોંઘું પડ્યું તમને. Anyway, it's a good thing that you are acknowledging therapy is essential. I've said this on the first day of Katha as well. Bhakti and Naradji's conversation is pretty much in those lines. Bhakti's confessions, Naradji's listening, Naradji's distress to Sanat Kumar's, Vedavyasji's distress to Naradji, and even Parikshit Raja opening up in front of Shukdevji Maharaj. Shivji is a very satisfied identity. Doesn't need anything. And yet Daksh was continuously jealous. To add gasoline in this jealousy, one initiative was thought of. First thing that Daksha Prajapati did, Daksha Prajapati banned Shivji's sthapan in a yagna. Now, I'm not sure what's a sthapan, I'm not sure how to explain it to youngsters, but my psychology friend, Shan, have you seen those Devi Devtas over there? They're sitting on a small table where you go for the puja. That is called sthapan. Okay? So in a yagna, you have Shivji, you have Brahmaji, all of these get added specifically. Daksha Prajapati, and in the concept of yagna, there's a transfer of energy. When you're offering in the yagna, the fire behaves like a mediator. the energy poured in goes to a specific office of a devta as an energy going from one place to the other. The mediator is Agni. So let's say if I say Indraya Swaha, it goes to Indra. If I say Rudraya Swaha, it goes to Rudra. If I say Prajapataye Swaha, it goes to Prajapati. So energy given over here gets transferred to some other place. So far so good? Fantastic. તમને યજ્ઞ શું જ ખબર છે એને સમજાવવાનું છે એટલે એને કીધું ખોટું નહીં લગાડતા. Shivji is considered to be one of the witnesses in the yagna. Daksha Prajapati discards stating that Shivji is not going to get anything. Daksha Prajapati was thinking that Shivji is dependent all the ahutis that are given in the yagna, and Shivji is going to be fulfilled only because of that. He doesn't know Shivji yet. Now he organizes a yagna at his place, and the daughter gets a whiff of it, stating, "Mara bapuji ne ત્યાં યજ્ઞનું આયોજન કરવામાં આવેલ છે. My father has decided to do a yagna." And there's a good conversation between Shivji and Satiji at that point of time, stating that till that extent Sati is arguing that the invitation might have come, but it wouldn't have reached because our Kailash is so big. The invitation wouldn't have reached to us. And at that moment, a lot of Devis and Devtas are going on their chariots and going on their, Vahans, and they're reaching to Daksha Prajapati's place. Satiji is insisting, let's go, you don't need an invitation. And the beauty about Satiji, her convincing skills are damn good. She doesn't say my father. She says your father-in-law. There's a difference between Mara Bapa and Tamara Sasra. Learn it. Learn it. It will be helpful. Though Shivji is quite extreme in nature, he's full of wisdom himself. He didn't get convinced by this pitch. He decides not to go, but he thought of one thing. Sati's time has come close. If she dies at my place, people will blame me. Let her go and die at Daksha Prajapati's place. Now, a lot of people might feel how cold-hearted this is. Relax. There's a story behind it. The story is not yet over. Sati reaches the place of the yagna. Sati, while leaving, tries to get approval from Shivji. Shivji is not giving an approval directly. Still insists Nandi to accompany Sati. Sati is looking back, looking forward, looking back, looking forward, looking back, looking forward. Shivji is not ready to go. Satiji eventually reaches the yagna, meets her sister, meets the mother, father still being cold, reaches the place where Shivji's Sthapan needs to be there. Doesn't happen. The Sthapan is not there. Decides that this is not the kind of thing I should have seen. I should have heard my husband. I should have heard Shivji. And that's when she decides to give her own life. This entire setup was done to make Daksh fall his own place. Sati happens to be a form of an ego. Sati is a form of an ahankar. And where does ahankar lie in us? Is it in our feet or is it in our head? Ahankar is always in our head. Now this ahankar had to be burnt. Sati eventually gives herself to the yagna, and Mahadevji gets to know this. The minute Mahadevji gets to know that Sati has quit her body, Mahadevji opens his jata. I hope you guys know what is jata. Yeah, the entire shaped headdress setup of Mahadevji is called as jata. Mahadevji opens his jata and whacks it against the land, and there comes a very dangerous form called as Virabhadra. Now, irony is that Virabhadra and Sati both originate from the same space. Sati was also an ahankar. Here, that ahankar has come again in the form of Virabhadra. Virabhadra goes to Daksha's yagna and destroys the entire yagna. Everyone realizes we haven't done something right. They come to Shiva Kailasho ke Vasi, Dholi Daro ke Raja, Shankara Sankat Harana. It's a very colloquial North Indian song which has been really sung well by a sitarist. His name is Rishabh Sharma. Do Google it if you get time. It's beautiful. I think it's a blend of Pahadi and Punjabi language. Sorry, my affinity towards that language is not that great. I don't understand it. But what I understood from the wordings is that it's a North Indian song. It's a beautiful song. I'll love to give him credit online right now. It's a very soothing music. But Kailash by itself is a very supernatural place. It's full of wealth. Kailash is full of wealth. Kailash is not devoid of anything. And a lot of people felt that, Shivji is dependent on these yagnas, and Shivji is himself rich. One statement that we say in Subhashits, Swayam Maheshah, he himself is Mahesh. Swasuro Nageshah, Sakha Dhaneshas Tanayo Ganeshah. What does it mean? He's Mahesh himself. His second Sasra, second father-in-law is going to be Girisha. That means Swayam Maheshah, Swasuro Nageshah. Sakha Dhanesh. Dhanesh refers to Kuber. His friend is Kuber. That means he can get wealth at any given point of time. And Tadayo Ganesha refers to son is Ganesh. He doesn't need anything. He has everything that he needs. Yet Brahmaji and every god go to Kailash. They appease Shivji. Shivji say that I've forgotten all these things. Don't worry, I don't remember such things. That was a very minuscule situation. Bhagwan appears and says that go and finish the yagna. Remember one thing,